everyone, and welcome back. We are live here at TPM22 for day 2, and with me here today is obviously Jonathan Kempe of Let's Talk Supply Chain Asia Pac, and we've got Jeff Tucker of Tucker Companies, and we are excited to be here with you. We want to learn more about what you're hearing from the conference. We want to hear what you're excited about, what you're hearing a lot about. So tell us, what has your experience been like at TPM22?
First of all, I'd say it's great to be back in front of people and working and networking and communicating the way we used to. This is by far the biggest show I've been to since the pandemic started. And, I think we've been through a heck of a lot, to say the least. And what's happening in Ukraine is just, the next big unthinkable thing. So to be here among all the logistics leaders of the world to talk about our challenges, just it's just amazing and a great gift.
And come together, right? Through all of the disruption, we've really been separated. And so to come together and really talk about everything we've been through over the last couple of years, what's happening now, how we can look to the future. I mean, that's really, this conference is about relationship matters, right? And so I think that truly is the essence of what you're trying to say and what we've heard from everybody else. So talk to us about your session. What was some of the key messaging, insights, takeaways that the audience here and online can take away?
Yeah, no, I think it's important for us. We spent a lot of time talking about what happened, but also really about how do you handle it? How do you deal with it? And what has changed? And, at least with regard to surface transportation in the U.S., huge change. 51% of all drivers drive for fleets of size 1 to 100.
Wow.
And that average fleet size in that 1 to 100 segment, less than 4 trucks.
Wow.
So, if you are dependent, and as many of our BCOs are, on the largest carriers, you've got to be squaring your mind to what is happening in the marketplace. How do I access the capacity? Because the drivers are not driving for the big carriers the way they used to.
Absolutely. And one more question that I have for you is around the driver shortage. I mean, we've been hearing a lot about this. They're projecting into the future that it's just going to get worse. What are you seeing? What are the solutions to that?
Yeah, so that's one of the things we talked about today in the session was that, yes, the perception is that we've got a driver shortage. In the last 10 years, we've added 1.5 million drivers. We've had 2 million commercial drivers for the for-hire fleet. We've added 1.5 net, so we're up to 3.5 million drivers. It's just they're not driving for the names that you know. Okay. And a lot of these companies, they're the biggest names in the world. You've got to be here, right, if you want to talk to those folks. But they're the biggest names in the world, and they depend on the biggest carriers in the world. And that's what we were talking about is procurement has to change. Procurement has to begin dealing with these small or medium-sized carriers who have the drivers.
So in terms of trucking around the United States, there's a lot of focus on ports at the moment. A lot of discussions around port efficiency, and there's a lot of money going into ports. But the trucking and the intermodal components are equally as important. Some would say even more important. So to get those cargoes flowing through the port into those inland environments. And we've noticed that some of those themes when it comes to trucking have highlighted, and we've seen headlines that say things about port congestion and turn times and then driver fatigue. What are those predominant themes that we're going to see over the next year that are going to be affecting the trucking community?
So driver fatigue is a major issue. So I just came back from visiting with several of our larger carriers, and they are experiencing, they want to keep their drivers. They want to maintain their drivers. And they're no longer selling, these are the sales representatives and the executives, they're no longer selling for certain revenues and revenue targets. They're selling with the predominant mindset of how do I keep the volume moving and my drivers happy, right? So there are major retailers out there that will sort and segregate on the back of a trailer that is pulled into its dock for 6, 8, 12, 14 hours. And that absolutely burns through drivers, and that's why, it's one of the predominant reasons the drivers have gone to these smaller fleets because they're not forced to do these. So to your point, to the ports, if you can't get a lot of turns in a day, a sufficient number of turns in a day, you're not making money as a driver. And there are right now so many ways to make money as a driver. And apps today, there are several different truckstop.com, others that have made it so easy for these drivers to be in business for themselves. The question will always remain for this year and going forward: how much can I make with the least number of headaches to the driver?
Yeah, and waiting time, right? Waiting time is huge right now.
Huge.
And a lot of those headaches that we're currently seeing have been systemic problems for some period of time. But the pandemic has started to put a real spotlight on them. And when you think about that spotlight, which is shining pretty brightly at different parts of the supply chain, do you think that interoperability driven by those in the trucking community, their needs that they have, as well as those in the port communities, as well as those in the drayage market, those connected to trains and air freight, do you think that that sort of collaboration between all those groups is going to be the key driver to solve these problems?
It is. Look, I'm a big believer, and we've heard in a number of the speakers, starting with the very first session here, I'm a big believer in the market, and the market will sort itself out. We've never had an incident like this where the world shut down for 2 weeks. Right? And then when the world woke up from that 2-week slumber, supply chains were different. Commercial supply chains disappeared while grocery supply chains appeared, and we're still dealing with that. Yeah. And all the purchasing and the home supply buying, the things that went on. I believe that eventually the market will take care of these things, and without too much government intervention, I hope. But I'm a big believer that where there's a will, there's a way, and there are enough. To your point earlier, there are enough drivers. They just need to. This market needs to normalize at whatever that new equilibrium level is,
and become inherently more efficient.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and adjust, right? But let's change focus to the future. What excites you the most about trucking, logistics, supply chain into the future?
Yeah, so young people come into our business, and I say that it's really exciting business, and I've seen just about everything you can see in 30 years in this business, and then the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
Right.
So and then all these things occur, and I think what's really exciting is just when I think many of us kind of felt as if we understood how commerce worked. We get to see and we live through maybe a revolution in the way commercial or commerce is done, a revolution in the way consumer products are purchased and made and distributed. And we get to live that, and we get to work in that field, and to see and to experience the commercial revolution or commercial significant evolution is the coolest thing. I can't imagine what else you'd want to be doing at this point in time.
Well, you heard it here. It is a cool time to be in supply chain. Thank you so much, Jeff, for joining us for this segment, and we will be back with more from TPM22.